GitHub, Wit.ai, Wit Unity, an SDK for Unity for accessing Wit.ai.
Alright, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do a quick tutorial setting up Wit.ai with the Wit Unity GitHub repo. So first thing we got to do is pull up Project Manager. Sorry, Package Manager. And we're going to need to add the Wit GitHub, which I posted in the chat. So let me put the browser. So this is the Wit GitHub. There are instructions here on how to add Wit via Package Manager, and that's what we're about to do. But you essentially need to grab this URL here. And then we will go back to Unity. In Package Manager, we're going to add package from get URL. Paste that in. Don't forget the .git, it won't work without it. And then Unity checks it out, and it's in your project. And you can see there are a couple samples here. We're going to be building this sample here. So we'll be using one of the scripts from it. I don't want to rewrite that script, and it's just a script that will change the colors, which is in here, color changer. So you can import it if you want, or you can use it from here. I'm just going to use it from here. Right, so let's go ahead and get our scene set up. We're not going to do this in VR because this is a really quick tutorial, but this process is basically the same for VR. There is no difference. So, what we need for this, generally I like to get rid of the skybox just because I can. Do maybe something a little gray here. Let's pull our game down here so we can see what we're building. Okay, so we'll add just a few shapes that we're going to control the colors of. And let's put them under an object. We'll call this shapes. Drop that under there. Okay. Now this will do. Alright, so we just have our 4 shapes here. On the lid side. We get a slight angle, and we'll move our camera into position. It's already more or less there, but we'll make it give it a little bit better. Okay, so now our scene is basically set up. Now we need to add the Wit components. So we'll start with, we'll create a new game object. We'll call this Wit. And under the Wit game object, oops, wrong one, we will add a Wit component. Alright, for this Wit component to work, we're going to need a Wit configuration. So what we'll do next is we'll go to Window, Wit configuration, and we'll grab our IDE token. So your IDE token can be found under your app settings. We haven't set up an app for this app yet, so let's go ahead and do that. So I just hit create a new app under my Wit.ai apps, and we'll call this Shapes Demo 1. All right. So since we're already here, let's go ahead and create our intents for this. We want a new intent. We'll call it change color. And we'll use this intent to change the color of the shapes. So to do that, let's go to understanding and let's train our model. Let's say, I want to say, make the cube red. So we'll choose our intent. And then we will highlight our entities. So the first one we're going to highlight is going to be shape. The second one we're going to highlight is going to be red color. So we'll do.
Welcome Pixel Shenanigans.
We'll hit train and validate. And that'll train. Let's go look at our entities. We've got color here. We're going to want to match basically free text here. But we'll add a few keywords just to make sure that it biases a little bit towards them. So red, green, blue, yellow, oops, say orange. Purple. Violet. Just some standard colors. This will help make sure it finds it. And we'll do the same for the shapes, except shapes we're going to use keywords because we only have 4 shapes that we care about, and this will help us get a better match. So we'll do cube, sphere, capsule, spell cylinder, INDER. think I've spelled this so many times by now that I would remember that. Tube. So we'll have an alias.
You have a typo in your color synonym, yellow.
Did I not fix it? I thought I fixed it. Let's take a look.
Welcome the blue smidge.
No, I do. Thank you. And then we'll remove this. There. Okay, now we've got yellow set up. Alright, so we've got our entities for shapes and colors. So now I gotta switch off of the browser. And please, if I start working on Unity and I don't switch to off of the browser, let me know. But while I'm off the browser, I'm gonna click on settings. I'm gonna grab a new IDE token. So back to Unity. I'm gonna grab the IDE token for this project. Like that. And I'm gonna create the Wit configuration. I generally like to put this in all of my project files in an underscore projects directory. And then these files in a data directory under there. Oops. Alright, so I'm just going to save my Wit configuration there. And we're pretty much done with this window. Alright, if we go back to Wit, we're going to drag that new configuration under the Wit configuration. And we can look at this, we can see we're using shapes demo 1. We have the intent change color with entities, color, and shape. And this is just information. You can't change anything in this section. It's telling you what your configuration is set up to handle. All right, so next up we want to change the colors. So there's a new tool for this, the understanding viewer, that makes this really easy. So we're going to go into the understanding viewer and we're going to type, we're going to try out one of our utterances. Let's say make the cube red. Hit submit. And this is the response that Wit comes back with. So if I wanted to display the text, I could copy the path or could generate code for that. We're going to do this two ways in this tutorial. So the first thing I want to do, this is a new way that I started building to do this that just works out really easy. So we're going to create another game object under our Wit. And where is it? Create empty. And we'll call this color handler. And so I'm going to go into my entities here with the color handler selected. I'm going to find color and I'm going to go to the value. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to select add a multi-value handler to the color handler. So what that does, let's split this off into a separate window. Right. So what that does is it adds this multi-value handler to your game object that will match on the intent change color, and it will use the value of color. So you're effectively selecting which node that you want to grab from the response. So after that, we're going to go into shape, and we're going to find the value for the shape, which is value cube. And now we're going to hit add value to multi-value handler. So this will create a new component. This one will actually add the value to that component for this value. So you now have two values in your component. And then there are a few ways we can handle the response here. So let's say I want to tell the user that I've selected the color, or that the user selected a color. So let's add a text mesh to this. And this is maybe we'll say press spacebar to activate. All right. So our canvas here, let's get get this set up properly. And then we'll probably reduce that font size. Maybe do a quick, not there. Scale pixel screen size. We'll make this 1080. Then let's center this at the top and bump up our font size just a little bit. Okay. So now we're going to go back to the Wit color handler, and in the formatted value events, I'm going to add an event, and I want to say the user changed the 0 to 1. It actually should be 1 to 0. So essentially what this is the number is the index of the value path value. So the first value is the color, the second value is the shape. So we want to say the user changed the shape to color. Now we can go in here, we can grab our text, drop that in, and it'll set the text. So the next thing we're going to want to do is do the actual color change. So there are a couple ways we can do this. With the shapes demo, there's a script to do it already that'll do it for you, which should be loaded. Let me find it. It's color changer, but anyway, you can find it under packages, samples, shapes, scripts, color changer. So drag that on there. So if we look at this color changer script, it's pretty simple. All it is we're taking the Wit response and it's getting the entity value for color and the entity value for shape, and then it's taking those values and it's passing it to the Unity color utility, and it tries to parse the color name. And then once it finds the color, it tries to find a shape underneath the shapes that matches the shape name, which these shapes, for this to work, these shapes need to be lowercase values. And those values basically match the values that are in your entity configuration. When we were looking at the entities, the name of the value, the synonyms are all of the different things you want to map to that value. So if you had, like we did with the cylinder, if we wanted to call it tube, the value you would receive here would be tube, or it would be cylinder, not tube, because cylinder is the name of the entity. So if you're not sure how to get these values, the other way you can get them is if we go back over to the understanding viewer, and I want to grab, again, click on the value. There's a generate code on clipboard, which then results in this code. You replace Wit response with whatever variable name you're using for your Wit response node, and then this will properly address whatever it is you selected. So it'll be under entities, color, it'll be the first one, and it'll be value. And then the string value of that value. There's also this Wit result utilities that will get your first entity value by name if that's what you want to do instead. It works pretty well as well for simpler entities. If you start getting into nested entities and arrays of entities where you don't want the first one, you'll probably want to use the understanding viewer to handle it. All right, so we'll try this one out first. So under shapes, color changer, we need to add, we already added color changer. So the very last thing we need for this to work is a way to activate Wit. There are no real built-in activation prefabs per se. It's up to you to figure out how you want to activate. So in this case, we want to use spacebar, so we'll create a new script that'll catch the spacebar. So in update, if input is it, get button down, or no, I'm using the new input system so much that using the built-in one or the stock one is getting less familiar. Dot space bar. All right. So if we hit space, we'll go ahead and throw a debug out there just so we can make sure we see it. And we'll say activating. And then we'll need a wit component. This will just, this, if we haven't set wit yet, this only runs in the editor because this is really inefficient. But it'll find our wit component for us so we don't have to drag and drop it. It's just something I've been doing lately to make my life a little bit easier. Just drag a component in, and the required fields that I can populate, I do populate. It saves a little bit of time on the end. All right, so now that we have a wit object, we just need to call activate. All right. So one other thing that we're going to want to is to be able to tell when our mic is active. So let's go ahead and in Wit, under the Wit object, there's an event dropdown. And these are all the events you get in the life cycle of an activation. So in this case, we want to say when we start listening on the mic and we stop listening on the mic, we want to change the text of our UI. So drop the text in here. And we'll change this text to is active. Something basic. And then under here, we'll do this, and I generally just say Wit is processing your requests. In game context, like if we're talking about Chess of the Mages, I would instead turn on and off the wand glow. So while the mic is active, the wand will glow, and as soon as it stops recording and tries to send the response, look for the response from Wit, the light will turn off. Or sometimes I'll even leave the light on until Wit comes back, so you don't continue to try and speak during that activation. But this is one way you can do it. The Wit on the request created here, you can use this to register events that can further get more detail on the event itself. So like if you wanted the raw string return, you'd have to do it in a script, but you could get it there. But this event happens before start or stop on the microphone happens. It's basically as soon as you call the activation method and it creates a Wit request, it hands that out. Mic level changed. That will give you a value of how loud you're speaking. So if you wanted, say, a sphere to expand as you speak, and you could tell that you're talking, you could use that. On air, that'll return any errors, so let's go ahead and do that just in case we do get an error. Again, add a text here. Actually, no. You'll have to process it because it's 2 strings. I have, I think, a utility for that somewhere. We'll do that later. And then on response, this is the one we need for our shapes. Just drag that in here, color changer, and call update color. So theoretically, this should just work. All right, so I'm going to press the space bar. No, nothing. It's not recognizing the spacebar, so I did something wrong with the update. Oh, did I not add the script? I bet I didn't add the script. So let's just create an object under here. It helps to add the object to the scene if you want it to do something. Let's try this again. Make the cube red. User changed the cube to bread. All right, well, not exactly what we wanted, but we got a response at least. Make the tube blue. And this is going to be fairly inaccurate because we haven't really trained our models at all yet. So there we go. Capsule is blue. I guess I got the alias wrong, or I guess it thought it was capsule. So one way to improve this is to go through and look at the responses you get. So let's go back to our browser. I gotta find my browser. And then go into the entities. And we hit, okay, first, I guess if we're trying to improve it, sorry, I lost train of thought, my phone is ringing, let me turn that off. Okay, sorry. So when you say your utterances in your app, you're going to get the values back here, and you can listen to the playback, and you can make the cube red, and you can improve them. So here we said make the cube red. So what we want to do is make the cube red, and this helps train the ASR models to be more accurate. So we said make the tube blue here. Make the tube blue. So I got real close to the mic, and it was really clear what it said. The other problem is I have a tendency to lean away from my mic, so it has trouble recognizing me. So this utterance is clearly correct. So let's go take a look at the shape alias. And make sure that the alias is correct. So we put tube under capsule. So it did exactly what we told it to do. It just put the tube in the wrong category. So there we go. Now the tube's in the right spot. It should recognize tube as the capsule. I can't remember if we need to train after that. We can always try this out here and take a look, and then we try it live. So we know we've got the transcription correct, and we can validate that it works. So that time it thought it was sphere. So let's do a couple more training and understanding. So let's say I also want to say the tube should be red. All right. And this will gradually learn more and more phrases. You don't have to train every phrase that you want to train. The backend should learn that for you. So the shape is purple, red, and this color. All right, we'll hit train, and it'll start building that machine learned backend that'll make these responses more and more intelligent. The sphere should be red. All right. So when I did that, it recognized as B. So yeah, I think the training just needs to have a little bit more time to learn. We need to add a few more utterance samples in here. do some more training
the sphere
here.
should be red.
And again, my voice does not work as well as some do with ASR. So we'll do this, and it'll help train the model, and it'll start to get smarter. So anytime it's wrong, make sure you go in and check your utterances here and tell it what it should have been, and that'll help make it smarter. All right, so let's go back to Unity. That's pretty much it for this basic demo. I'll show you one more way that you can send data. So let's go back to Package Manager. Let's import the shapes because I want to customize that shape script. I'm just going to delete the two other scripts that are in here. And we're going to take this color changer script that it's created. I'm going to rename it to my color changer. Okay. I gotta reopen it. All right, so instead of using a Wit response node here, let's say I want to pass in an array of the values. So let's say string values. So here we can go back to our configuration, or our color handler. And on the color handler, there's this multi-value event. We'll make this big. Oh, it's not gonna. We gotta finish changing it first. All right, so now this is only gonna get called when both values are populated. So I can do value 0 for our color. Don't need any of this. Value 0 and values 1. And those just line up with, again, the index of the value paths. So now I've got that changed. It should be built. Let's go to my color changer, and we'll drag that onto the color handler. And we will disable this one, or remove it. I guess we can add it back over here if we want to keep the color controls with the shapes. And then under color handler, we just drag our shapes object in here, and we drag to update color. So what happens here is this gets called no matter what, and the values can be empty, but you will always get 2 values in your array. So if the value's not there, it'll be empty. If it's there, it'll be there. So if we go to play this again, the cube should be green. What do we get? What do we get? Latency here is a known issue that we're working on. It should be fixed before too long. So something happened there. The cube should be green. I haven't actually done this one live, so this is kind of a risk. what's likely happening here is my color changer is I did something wrong here and it's throwing an exception, and I need to improve the ability to see what that exception is. But okay, so I'll fix this later. You get the general gist of how to use the tool. Like I said, using these is really handy. And then you can do the copy paste code if you want to modify things directly in code. You can format this to whatever you want. These will happen in order. So if, let's say, you don't have both values, I could do something like this, and then I don't think I have a value for this. We'll just say name. Well, any in here are going to be duplicated. Those are in order, but you can create a second one here with a second format that is just one. So the trick here is any numbered values you put in here have to have a value for this to call the callback. So if you don't have both values, this is not going to get called and this one will. So you could do something like, well, maybe I want to index my colors and then split on a comma or something. So if you get both values, it'll give it both values. If it gives you one value, it'll give you the one value. So that's pretty much it. This was meant to be a really short stream, quick intro tutorial. I will look at why the multi-value event isn't firing like it should be. And then it should just work as I showed, just I'm not sure why it's not right now. But that's it. Thanks for watching.
Very cool.